Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Thursdays. So today we will be going through the CDC's recommendations for managing small gatherings and holiday celebrations. So stay tuned. As we discussed last week, we have a lot of great holidays coming up. And as such, it's very easy just to get caught up in the holiday spirit and just forget about everything else that's happening in the world. But we have to be mindful of the fact that there still is a pandemic. So let's still celebrate, do it safely, mindfully, and in a way that we can take care of our nearest and dearest. The three main topics today. The first being for small gatherings. The second being hosting overnight guests. And the third being different levels of risk and tips for holiday celebration. The first thing we're going to talk about is considerations for small gatherings. You celebrate virtually or celebrate with members of your own common housing unit. So that means anybody that's actually living in your housing unit, your apartment, your condo, your house. That's what counts as a housing. And people who do not currently live in your housing unit, even though they might be part of your family, like college students coming home for the holidays, they would not be considered part of the housing unit. So you're being presented with a little bit higher level of risk than if you were just celebrating virtually or if you're celebrating just with the people within your housing unit. There's several factors that contribute to the level of risk when it comes to getting or spreading COVID-19. So we're just going to quickly go through those factors as well. So the first being community levels of COVID-19. So how are the levels of COVID-19, either if you're hosting or from the places that your guests are coming into? The next thing to consider is the exposure during travel. So when you have bus travel, you have air travel, you have train travel, all those areas present places where you could have a possible infection, either through the air or through surface. The next thing to consider is the location. So is your gathering going to be indoor or outdoor? Indoor locations tend to have a little bit more of a risk than outdoor locations. And the next thing is the duration. So if you have a small, short gathering, it tends to be lower risk than if you have a larger and longer gathering. So if you have a longer duration of time, that's a little bit more risky than if you have a shorter duration of time. Some studies have actually shown that being within 6 feet of someone who tests positive for COVID-19 for a cumulative total of longer than 15 minutes can greatly increase your risk of also having to quarantine for 14 days and also getting COVID-19. And the crowding of the people at the gathering. So the higher the number and the more crowding, the greater the risk is going to be. And also just the general behavior of the people who are attending your event. So if you have people who are pretty responsible, they're maintaining their distance, they're wearing their masks, they're washing their hands very carefully, and they're sanitizing, you tend to have a lower risk than people who are more carefree and who is more like, I don't really care. So this is a great time to shame all your loved ones that are not following all these rules. Another consideration is the behavior of the people that are attending your party or your event. Are these people that are attending responsible people who tend to take precautions in their day-to-day life? Because if they're not, they're also exposing you to whatever they've been exposed to. The next thing we need to talk about is who should not go. I think that's really important to talk about. Like, who should not go to these small gatherings? Go to small gatherings if you have COVID-19 or if you've been exposed to COVID-19. That should be a no-brainer, but do not go. Also, don't go if you have an increased risk of getting illness. So if you have comorbid conditions, you have underlying lung disease, anything of that nature, maybe you should sit this one out and just maybe join virtually. Maybe just join virtually. You could just do that and that'd be safe. The next thing we're going to talk about are tips of staying overnight or hosting overnight guests. Do is that any baggage or any items that have been commonplaces, they should just be stowed to one common area and try to sanitize them with a spray. Once you come into the home, wash your hands for at least 20 seconds upon arrival. Wear masks when you're inside the house. I know that might be really weird, but the safest thing that you could do. Wear masks inside the house, stay 6 feet apart as much as possible. Another thing that you could do is improve ventilation. So you can open the doors or the windows, or you can also turn on the central air and keep it on continuous circulation so that you have good ventilation going. Another thing you could do is go outside. Go to the outdoors. If it's cold, bundle up. If it's warm, you got that. That's fine. If it's warm, it's good. Another thing is to monitor your guests if they have any symptoms of COVID-19. So if they have shortness of breath or fever or cough, just make sure that you have an area that you can quarantine them if that becomes necessary to do. This kind of sounds like the Grinch, but try not to sing and dance indoors. If you want to do that, make this an outdoor activity, because it just makes it easier to spread all your fluids if you're just singing indoors with poor ventilation and in crowded areas. Let's go through different levels of risk for each holiday celebration. So the lowest risk is if you do it virtually, if you do it with the people within your housing unit. You could also make traditional family dishes and then deliver them in a contactless way. So that's a good way to stay connected with your community, stay connected with your family, but also avoid the transmission of COVID-19. Another thing that you could do is shopping online. We all like online shopping. This is a great way to do it because then you're not having crowds of people within the malls themselves. So that's another good way to make sure you don't increase your risk before any small gathering or any celebration. Watch sporting events or things like that on the TV at home and don't attend a large event. That's another option. Okay, so this is moderate risk. Moderate risk activities include things like having a small outdoor dinner for your family and friends. This might not really be possible, especially if it's like cold in wherever you live, right? But it's for people in warmer areas, it's totally feasible. Just go to a pumpkin patch or an apple picking farm where people are highly recommended to sanitize their hands and cleanse their hands. So that's another way to spend time with the people that you love outdoors, decrease your risk, make sure that you're staying safe, and that's another option. And if you absolutely have to go to a sporting event, make sure it's kind of small and it's outdoors and there's plenty of space between you and the person next. Okay, so let's talk about high risk activities. Going shopping around Thanksgiving or Christmas, that is a high risk activity. I know that sounds really like, whoa, that's wild, but it actually is, especially right now in the pandemic circumstance. The fact of the matter is, the more people that go to the malls, you're indoors, it's crowded, it's poorly ventilated, you have a higher risk. So try to avoid contributing to that. Like I mentioned earlier, shop online if possible. Crowded parades. I think most parades right now have been canceled. But if your area is having a parade, don't attend or don't do it. Just watch it on TV. It's more comfortable in your house anyways, right? So avoid attending large indoor gatherings with people from outside your housing unit. That's another thing that could increase your risk. It's not going to be popular, but avoid using alcohol or drugs. That's not funny. Avoid using alcohol or drugs because it could impair your judgment, it lowers your inhibition, and also increases your risk of doing things that increase the chance that you're going to spread COVID-19. So that's for today's episode of Let's Talk Thursday. I hope these recommendations were helpful in some way. Hope you have a wonderful holiday season and take care.